Welcome to the Hometown Gym Podcast, the place where we teach parents and those new to fitness the best practices of physical health so that you can have the ability to run around and keep up with your kids and grandkids, and so that you can smile when you look at yourself in the mirror, and most importantly, that you live a pain-free, happy, and long life. Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Hometown Gym Podcast. It is 11:32 here on a beautiful Saturday afternoon in December. Happy holidays to everybody first. And we're going to be diving into the second part of our 9-part nutrition series here. And in no particular order, we're going to be going over the next thing, which is intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting for me has just been very helpful whenever I'm in some semblance of a restrictive nutrition regimen, especially when I'm trying to lose weight. I found this method about 10 years ago, and long story short, I got on a nutrition regimen where I was following a fitness influencer, and he had suggested, in order to grow a bunch of muscle back at the time, basically to use a bunch of mass gainer in order to build as much muscle as possible. And the outcome of that is I did build a lot of mass. I'm going to say very little muscle, and I'm going to say, albeit unattractive mass, right? So it was the first time I couldn't see my abs. And I was the heaviest weight that I've ever been in my life. And when I looked in the mirror, I didn't like what I saw. And so I started to research some different methods about losing weight, which was the first time that I had done that in my early 20s. And I stumbled upon intermittent fasting, which ultimately just has made it so much easier for me to restrict calories or be in a catabolic state. All right. Intermittent fasting, basically all we're going to be doing is we're just restricting the amount of food that we're going to eat for a particular time of the day. For me, that's in the morning and kind of late at night. And there's going to be like an 8-hour eating window where we're going to be consuming all of our calories. When I'm doing intermittent fasting, I have traditionally used a 5 days on, 2 days off method. I don't suggest that you intermittent fast every single day. That can mess with some hormonal function, and to be in a constant catabolic state all the time, I don't think is a necessarily good thing. So there's 5 days where I'm going to be implementing this, and 2 days where I'm going to be off. And in the past, I have used one day kind of in the middle of the week to take a break from this. It'll be Wednesday almost always for me. And then I use a day on the weekend. That way I can kind of refeed and enjoy some food with my wife or friends or whoever I'm going to be with on that particular day. And I would typically use Sunday in order to do that or take a day off from intermittent fasting. All right. Now, the fasting style that I've used, and there's a lot of different methods, is what we refer to as the 16-8 method. That means I'm going to be doing a 16-hour fast followed by an 8-hour eating window. All right. Let me break my day down for you a little bit. So I'm going to wake up first thing in the morning, and I'm actually going to skip breakfast. All right. And the only thing that I'm going to be consuming in the morning is going to be black coffee or water. I would suggest you could also use a tea of some kind would be totally fine, but just tea that's going to be in there. No sweeteners, no artificial sweeteners, nothing like that. And when you're fasting, if you're going to implement this technique, I would suggest that you're only sticking to those 3 items. Anything else, especially with some of these pre-workouts or alternative 0-calorie drinks, there's lots of times they're laced with alternative sugars or some sort of an ingredient that's going to be kicking you out of your fast, which is going to kind of neglect the whole point, where this is going to promote fat burning and ultimately make restricting our nutrition a little bit easier throughout the day. Hey guys, quick ask from us. Our mission at Hometown Gym is to increase the happiness and the quality of life for as many parents and people as possible. If you could take a moment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening or possibly watching, click the little up arrow. That's the share icon of your favorite episode of the podcast, and share it with someone you know. While we do greatly appreciate it, what's more important is that little share may change that person's life. Exercise and nutrition are the 2 main driving forces to improve so many aspects of life, physical health, obviously, but mental health as well. So again, if you could take a second and share this with someone that you know, that would be awesome. And who knows, it may be the best thing that ever happens to that individual. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the show. Somewhere between the hours of about 12 to 2 p.m., depending on how much flexibility that I'm going to need, I'm going to consume my first meal. All right. Now, I typically eat 2 to 3 large meals during the day. All right. So they're not small meals. I'm typically going to be consuming somewhere between about 2,200 to 2,400 calories a day. Typically, that's yielded me some pretty good results. And we're going to talk about macronutrient counting, calorie counting in a later episode. I'll go over all of that. And even today, where I'm not counting calories, I'm still eating a large meal. And I discussed this in a post earlier where it's going to be some semblance of a pound of meat. It's going to be beef, chicken, or pork with a couple pieces of fruit, a couple tablespoons of honey, and then sometimes with a carbohydrate, rice, a sweet potato, something along those lines. My second meal is going to come at dinner time, somewhere between the hours of about 6 to 8. I typically like to eat a little bit earlier, just a little bit easier on my stomach, and it allows me to settle down at night a little bit easier, and I'll enjoy that meal with my family. All right. And that's it. I stick to 2 meals a day. Sometimes there might be a small third one in there when I get home from work about 5:15, 5:30. But I would say probably 90% of the time, I'm just sticking to the 2 meals. All right. Some other benefits to intermittent fasting include having your blood insulin levels drop significantly, which is going to make you more insulin sensitive. That's a really good thing. There's a really good book called The Diabetes Code. It's by Dr. Jason Fung. I'm going to link that down below if you really want to go into the weeds on fasting and kind of the state of American society, really, with nutrition. I think he does a really good job of talking about that and the importance of insulin sensitivity for anybody to promote physical health. The next thing is we get an increase in HGH, that's human growth hormone, and we get an increase in cellular repair, and we also decrease our fat lipids while we're intermittent fasting. Now, I think the saying goes, too much of a good thing is not a good thing. Things to avoid when we're going to be intermittent fasting is fasting too much. This can ultimately derail energy levels. And if you're training for performance, such as a high school or collegiate sport, something at the higher intensity level like CrossFit or half marathon or a triathlon training, those methodologies would warrant more food to be consumed. And I don't know if it would be a great idea for you to do intermittent fasting while you're going to be doing those programming methodologies. Also, if you're at your goal weight, you don't need to continue to do this every single day. Eventually, we're going to get to a point where we're going to be prioritizing muscle, and we wouldn't want to be fasting every single day, which brings me to actually where I currently am. And I talk about this in the beginning part of our interviews where we're going over fitness goals, both for the guests that I'm going to be having on and for myself. But number one right now, I am working on keeping my back injury-free. I had kind of chronic back pain for the better part of 2 years. I'm going to talk about that in another future episode, how that got cured and everything like that. But also, I want to build as much muscle and strength as possible. I'm going to do that through full body workouts, and I'm going to be doing that through February 2024. And after that point, I actually may look to slim down a little bit, kind of get prepared for the summer. And I'm going to be utilizing this method, and I'm going to be documenting that every step of the way so you can kind of watch how I do this in real time. Hey team, we hope you're enjoying the show. I wanted to take a quick break and ask that wherever you're watching or listening to the show, whether that's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon, the way that the show will reach more people searching for content on the platform is if we have more reviews. Our mission at Hometown Gym is to help parents and people improve their physical and mental health through fitness, so that they can live an awesome, pain-free, and happy life. And an easy way for us to help reach more people is if you could actually scroll down to the review section, give us a 5-star review, and maybe share a little blurb about how you've enjoyed the show or which piece of content has had an impact on your life. From the bottom of our hearts, and the future listener who reads your message and starts to take action in their life, we thank you very, very much. Let's get back to the show. Going over a little bit more of what I'm doing currently, I'm currently utilizing a 4-3 split method with intermittent fasting. So even though I'm trying to increase muscle and strength, I still like intermittent fasting and I still use it 3 days a week. The other 4, I'm going to be implementing breakfast, nutrition in the morning. I'm not going to be fasting on those days. And I'm going to continue to do this or adjust it and get some flexibility as I need to if my strength numbers are not going up. Or my energy levels aren't feeling quite where they need to be at. I'm going to drop my frequency of intermittent fasting, maybe just kind of get rid of it altogether and then bring it back up sometime up here in the spring of 2024. If you guys have questions on this particular methodology, please send me a direct message, or you guys can email us over at info@hometownGym.net. I would love to talk to you more about this and how you could implement this with your physical or nutrition goals. It's about 11:45, almost 12 o'clock here on a Saturday morning. If you have a topic that you would like us or another expert to discuss while we're on the show, please drop that in the comments below. And as always, I know your time is super valuable. Thank you so much for dropping it at Hometown Gym. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend and a happy holiday to you and your family. Thanks.